Let me ask you got into a Twitter spat with Andrew Tate yesterday.
I think when you call it a war, you're doing a disservice to the people who are having their limbs.
He's a converted Muslim. He'd been doing a lot of supportive tweets for the Palestinians.
You lock people in an open-air prison and steal their land, they're going to retaliate.
So they're not a terror group?
I think they're going to retaliate.
They're not a terror group?
In these areas, and that would actually require Palestinian moderates to take the floor. The Palestinian Authority is not a moderate group, Islamic Jihad.
It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on when you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes.
While the bodies were fresh and warm in the streets. We're not going to be lectured on morality and toughness by Andrew Tate.
Genocide accusation. Andrew Tate didn't mince words when he dropped the G word, genocide. He's not calling it a conflict between Israel and Hamas. He's shouting from the rooftops that it's a full-blown genocide. Why? Because he's not about to sugarcoat the horror show he sees unfolding. According to him, slapping a conflict label on this mess is like slapping a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And why is he riled up? Because civilians are getting the short end of the stick big time. It's not some glorified battlefield, it's real people, everyday folks getting hammered by the state-of-the-art weapons that make James Bond blush. Tate's screaming that this isn't just a skirmish between nations, it's a full-on catastrophe for the innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. He's up in arms because he reckons that by calling it a conflict, folks are downplaying the gravity of the situation.
I want to turn to the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. What is your view?
By the way, the burgeoning Saudi peace deal is the reason that Hamas did this at the behest of Iran. They were afraid of a regional realignment.
It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on when you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes.
In these areas, and that would actually require Palestinian moderates to take the floor. The Palestinian Authority is not a moderate group, Islamic Jihad.
I think when you call it a war, you're doing a disservice to the people who are having their limbs.
When you toss around the word conflict, it's like saying, oh, it's just another Tuesday in geopolitics, while folks are getting maimed and worse, caught in a high-tech meat grinder. In Tate's book, using conflict to describe this chaos is like saying a wildfire is a cozy little bonfire. It's not. It's a blazing inferno scorching everything in its path. And that's how he sees this situation: devastating consequences, civilians taking the brunt of the damage, all because of what he perceives as Israel's actions. So, he's not backing down from calling it what he believes it is, a genocide. He's not about to water down the impact of the chaos and the suffering. For him, it's a wake-up call, a slap in the face to anyone trying to downplay the magnitude of the mess. Because for Tate, this isn't just a matter of politics, it's about people, real people, facing the terrifying repercussions of conflict spun way out of control. Avoidance of condemning Hamas. When it comes to pointing fingers directly at Hamas, Andrew Tate's playing a savvy game of dodgeball. He's like a pro boxer, bobbing and weaving around direct condemnation. You'd expect a straightforward answer, right? Nope, Tate's got a whole other playbook. Throwing shade at specific actions on October 7th? Nah, not his style. He's all about painting the bigger picture before he'll even dip a toe into the hot waters of judgment. Try to corner him into calling out Hamas as a terror squad? Fat chance. He's not giving into that narrative, not without a fight. The UK and other big shots might slap that terror label on Hamas, but Tate's not biting. He's doing some serious verbal gymnastics, challenging the whole idea of sticking that terror organization badge on Hamas's chest. Instead, he's tossing it right back, refusing to pigeonhole the group into a labeled box. It's like he's playing verbal chess, maneuvering around the demand for a clear-cut denouncement. Instead, he's dancing around the topic, flipping the script on the whole conversation. He's not giving in to that easy condemnation. He's making it crystal clear that he won't be corralled into that corner. Tate's refusal to throw that terrorist tag might seem like a dodge, but he's not backing down without a fight. He's not giving the answer that's expected. He's flipping the script, challenging the established narrative. It's like watching a verbal tightrope walk, a deliberate refusal to give in to the pressure of easy labels and black and white thinking, which Piers often tries to get his guests to do when it comes to this specific issue. Complex views on conflict motivations. Tate's like a detective trying to crack the code behind this whole Israel-Palestine saga. He's not just pointing fingers, he's digging deeper, trying to unravel the tangled mess. He's crystal clear on one thing: Civilians getting caught in the crossfire? No way, that's not okay in his book. But when it comes to the why, the how, the what the heck is going on, he's got a different perspective.
Well, then it seems like your bosses are not allowing you to know it.
What do you
perhaps.
think of what Hamas did on October the 7th?
Why are you starting the story in the middle?
Do you see any parallel there in terms of what could be achieved with Israel and Palestine?
I'm now asking you specifically about Hamas.
I cannot professionally answer that question without talking about the context that led up to October 7th.
Only if the leadership changes on the Palestinian side. That is the only way that happens. And again, the difference here.
Exact point. So you're talking to a man. I don't know what answer you expect from me, because let's forget the fact I'm a Muslim. You're talking to a man.
Tate's slamming Israel's moves as downright atrocious and genocidal. No sugarcoating, no beating around the bush. He's putting it all out there. But hold up, it's not just about bashing one side and high-fiving the other. Nope. Tate's all about seeing the big picture. He's peeling back layers, trying to understand what drives these actions. He's not letting his criticism blind him to the complexities lurking beneath the surface. It's like he's got a foot in each camp, a harsh critic of Israel's actions, yet not blind to the motivations at play. He's not excusing anything, but he's also not painting a one-sided portrait. Tate's like that friend who listens to both sides of a fight, nodding along to one but still understanding the other's grievances. He's wrestling with the moral outrage at one end and the tangled web of motivations at the other. It's not a simple thumbs up or thumbs down for Tate. He's judging the condemnation with an attempt to grasp the tangled mess of reasons, motivations, and histories that have brought things to this boiling point. And in that complex swirl, he's searching for a glimmer of understanding amidst the chaos. Fiery take on Ben Shapiro. Andrew Tate's unfiltered take on Ben Shapiro during his conversation with Piers unleashed a fiery takedown that didn't hold back any punches. Tate threw Shapiro into the hot seat, calling him out for a litany of wrongs. He labeled Shapiro as a constant miss-the-mark figure, always on the wrong side of various issues. From vaccines to global conflicts, Tate painted Shapiro as a man consistently barking up the wrong tree. In Tate's eyes, Shapiro is the guy who loves the idea of sending others to battle. Tate slammed Shapiro for his eagerness to dispatch other people's sons into battles, while Shapiro sits comfortably behind his desk.
Let me ask you got into a Twitter spat with Andrew Tate yesterday.
Innocent Palestinian people in Gaza.
Who are suffering now.
They knew, yes, but Hamas knew when they did what they did.
He's a converted Muslim. He'd been doing a lot of supportive tweets for the Palestinians.
So my question for you is, why can't you, which is my position on this, is very straightforward. What Hamas did was an act of terror.
While the bodies were fresh and warm in the streets. We're not going to be lectured on morality and toughness by Andrew Tate.
You lock people in an open-air prison and steal their land, they're going to retaliate.
So they're not a terror group.
I think they're going to retaliate.
They're not a terror group.
This stance, according to Tate, paints Shapiro as a battlemonger who thrives on advocating for military actions without experiencing their brutal reality himself. The juiciest jab came when Tate admitted that although he doesn't religiously watch Shapiro's show, whenever he flicks it on, it's Shapiro drumming up fervor for military engagements. Tate highlighted Shapiro's apparent lack of support for peace initiatives, suggesting that Shapiro doesn't share the sentiment that peacemakers are to be praised, a belief Tate attributes to Candace Owens, whom he regards as more astute than Shapiro. Tate didn't stop there. He lobbed a grenade, implying that Shapiro disregards the humanity of Palestinians. In a world where Tate sees issues in shades of gray, he framed Shapiro as someone staunchly entrenched in a one-sided narrative. This verbal onslaught painted Shapiro as someone lacking empathy, exhibiting a fervor for conflict, and aligning himself with views diametrically opposite to Tate's. It was a no-holds-barred, gloves-off verbal thrashing where Tate made it clear that he's diametrically opposed to Shapiro on crucial issues of peace and global conflicts. And in this rhetorical ring, Tate emerged swinging, labeling Shapiro as a man whose views not only miss the mark, but also lack compassion and depth. Personal responsibility amidst criticism. The conversation between Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan was like watching a fiery ping-pong match with grenades for balls. Tate owned up to personal responsibility amidst the societal chaos, acknowledging the messed-up systems while not shying away from his part in the drama. Then came the shocker, Tate throwing shade at Peterson for supposedly wishing doom upon people amidst the Israel-Palestine debacle. He erupted at Morgan, passionately asking what grown men were supposed to do when their families got obliterated and they were trapped in what seemed like an open-air jail. Morgan, trying to be the voice of reason, decided to take on a historical field trip to WW2, comparing Nazis to Hamas. Tate fired back, accusing Morgan of not valuing Palestinian lives, sparking a heated back and forth. But hold on to your seats, because things got even wilder. Tate dropped this bizarre yet oddly poignant gem: "I understand that pressure cookers explode." Talk about a metaphor. It was a weirdly vivid way to capture the tension and chaos brewing in the region. In saying so, Tate gave a much-needed voice to the Palestinian suffering by recognizing that although the 7th October attacks were despicable, they stemmed from a long-standing oppression and injustice against Palestine.
Let's forget the fact that I'm a Muslim. You're talking to a man who is fighting oppression to the best of his ability.
Is that the IRA had territorial ambitions. Hamas does not have territorial ambitions. They have genocidal ambitions.
Then you're asking me what I would do if my family was
You're not
blown
in a
to
jail.
pieces?
You're not in a jail. Hang on.
You're asking me what I would do?
The Palestinian Authority has been offered multiple deals over multiple decades, and they've rejected without counteroffers.
So you weren't.
Of course
you
I
were put
was.
in jail cell because you've been accused of serious sexual
I
crimes.
would not have been accused if I was not monumentally successful in speaking the truth.
They danced around condemning Hamas, with Tate refusing to point fingers at them despite Morgan's relentless push. Morgan, trying to unravel the mystery, dove into the murky connections between Hamas and Iran, trying to make sense of the tangled web of international relations. In the midst of the verbal jousting, they found common ground in empathizing with the Palestinian struggle, but couldn't agree on the motivations behind the October 7th attack. The whole exchange was like witnessing a high-stakes poker game where each player bet their moral compass. It was intense, contentious, and oddly fascinating to witness. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.